What's up, YouTube family? Today we are talking about why Tesla is my biggest investment. Now, I know that this is not related to Web3 gaming. However, I'm going to start experimenting with covering some stocks on this channel. Just see how you guys like it. If you guys hate it, then I'm going to start a new channel specifically for the stock market. However, I'm hopeful that there's going to be enough overlap between the two audiences, although those who just like gaming might not like this, but that's enough digressing. Let's get into this one. So first, let's cover a little bit of history here. So there's been over 100 years with no successful auto startup. And there's an interesting reason for this. So if you guys don't know, since Ford absolutely revolutionized auto manufacturing with the Model T, where he essentially created the manufacturing line where essentially you, by moving parts along, you allowed people to repeat the same task over and over again. Before this, you had a single person that had to build like an entire car or a team, and they would have to move from one task to the next task to the next task. And that context switching and having to be really good at doing hundreds of different things to put a car together made car creating very slow and very expensive. But Henry Ford had the idea to create a manufacturing line where essentially, because stuff moved along a line, people could sit at a station and do the exact same task over and over again. So instead of a single person or a single team building an entire car together, you had a single person doing the same exact task on hundreds of cars. And it was a lot easier and a lot quicker because you didn't have to think about, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Okay, how do I do this? You just had to get really good at doing a single thing over and over again. And this absolutely revolutionized auto manufacturing, and it made car prices start to plummet, which at that point started to make a big impact on the current industry. It started to kind of obsolete the old industry, which was what? It was horses and horse-drawn carriages. And you had a ton of companies that were very, very successful horse-drawn carriage manufacturers that started to go out of business because the price of the Model T plummeted. It became highly, highly affordable. It was only hundreds of dollars. Now there's been a lot of inflation since then, so it would be higher now. But still, it became very cheap and something that the normal average person could actually afford, which was a really, really big deal. And after that, you started to have a lot of other companies start to copy Henry Ford's innovation of manufacturing. But now it's been 100 years, and that really hasn't changed much. In fact, auto companies haven't really innovated at all. And in fact, I think they've kind of devolved a bit, where auto manufacturing kind of became this situation where companies wanted to do as little in-house as possible. Let's get rid of as many things we actually have to do. Let's outsource it. So we have one company doing this, one company doing that, one company doing that. And then we just get all the pieces, we put it together, and then we just stamp our logo on it. And that's kind of what auto manufacturing has become. And because auto companies don't actually do any of the building themselves, you just have it's almost like a Frankenstein situation where everything's getting put together and there's no even potential for innovation because Ford isn't making the motors, or Ford isn't making the seats, Ford isn't making the mirrors. And there's also no potential for software integration, because every single part is coded using different languages. It has they just can't work together. It's absolutely insane. But then why, you might ask, has there not been a successful startup in so long? Well, Legacy has had a dirty strategy of profit from repairs. So essentially, companies like Ford and GM have been able to sell their cars at break even or a slight loss purposely making them very crappily so that then they actually make their profit selling replacement parts, doing repairs. So essentially, it's built into the business model that your car is going to break down all the time, and that is how they're going to make money. Now, this sounds a little bit sleazy, right? Well, yeah, it is, but it worked very effectively because if you had a new company, and new companies did try to join the ecosystem, when a new company tries to sell cars, you can't compete because you, as a new company, can't sell cars at a loss because you don't have a massive fleet of millions of cars that all need repairs to bring in the cash flow to pay for the selling cars at a loss strategy that legacy auto manufacturers have. So what that means is when a new auto manufacturer comes in, their cars are just way more expensive and no one wants to buy them. They don't have the brand recognition. They're more expensive. Why would anyone take a risk? And because of that, new companies haven't even been able to build up the fleet so that they could make money on repairs, and they just go bankrupt. So no fleet, no chance has been the situation. So how did Tesla succeed? How all of a sudden, and trust me guys, when Tesla was trying to exist as a company, everyone was saying that they were going to go bankrupt, that they couldn't do it because no one had done it in so long. And then it's hilarious. Now that Tesla has succeeded, everyone's like, let's put our money into this EV company and that EV company and this EV company. And it's so stupid because all these EV companies are going to have a way harder time to succeed than Tesla because they are literally now competing against Tesla. So it's like, now that everyone believes and is putting money into all these other EV manufacturers, it's like it's now harder than it was for Tesla, and no one wanted to fund Tesla. Really, really funny. But how has Tesla changed everything? Well, Elon Musk he's an incredible businessman for one. And he had this plan to start, obviously, with a very, very high margin, like top of the line luxury, because you have to get to scale before you can push down costs. So he's like, it's going to be expensive at first. But Tesla's plan the entire time has been to continue moving to lower and lower and lower cost models as they get more and more scale. But another thing Tesla has done is they have in-housed everything. They don't outsource it like Legacy does. They actually build every part themselves. And because of that, they are able to continuously drive costs down through innovation. Ford, they can't innovate on their stuff because they don't even make it. Tesla, on the other hand, it's crazy. I don't have time to get into exactly how the company works, but like literally there are engineering teams for every single part that are constantly trying to drive the cost of that part down, but they're trying to make it cheaper and better at the same time, which is absolutely crazy. So now we've gotten to a situation where Tesla has reached the lowest cost of manufacturing in history. And it's not done either. You listen to Ford or GM, Mary Barra will be like, we're going to get to cost parity with gas cars in the next 3 years. And it's like, okay, yeah, by the time you do that, which by the way, you're probably not even going to be able to because you've lied about everything else so far. By the time you do that, Tesla is going to have their new model out that is going to cost half as much to produce as the Model 3 and the Model Y, which are already $15,000, $20,000 lower cost of production than traditional ICE vehicles. So it's like you're in a situation now where it's almost a certainty. It's not even almost. It is a certainty that the same exact thing that Henry Ford did to the horse-drawn carriage is happening to internal combustion engine cars. The cost of manufacturing through innovation has been dropped a ton, and it's going to become such a no-brainer to buy a higher quality car that can drive itself for way cheaper. No one. And then the Tesla isn't reliant on you having to fix your car all the time. So the cost of maintaining a Tesla is almost nothing. There's almost nothing. Like you have to replace the windshield wiper fluid and the air filter. That's it. That's all you have to do. My dad drives Uber with his Model Y. He has like over 250,000 miles, and he's brought it into the repair shop, I think once, and it's because an autonomous driving camera disconnected and they had to replace it. It was like $75 or something really, really cheap like that, in that ballpark, so that his car can drive itself. That's the only thing that needed a repair. It's absolutely, it's crazy, the step change that we've seen here. And that cost is continually getting driven. It's getting driven lower and lower every single year. So when Tesla's Mexico factory starts ramping up and China and Mexico start producing even the lower cost Tesla, which Tesla hasn't even unveiled yet, even though it is designed, it's just game over. I mean, it's already game over. Partly because the government has put their hand in, which is not really necessary, but it is what it is. So like in California, for example, you get a $7,500 federal tax credit and a $7,500 California state credit. So it's like under $30,000 to buy a Model 3 in California. Which is literally cheaper purchasing price than a Toyota Camry, which is insane. And this is with Tesla also having the highest margins by double of the entire auto industry. So Tesla absolutely changed everything, and that is why Tesla has been able to succeed in this market where legacy purposely sells cars at a loss, because it's a whole new platform. It's a new thing. You don't have to try and compete with an internal combustion engine, which has a transmission and all these other parts. Let's just remake it from the ground up and see how it goes. Plus, sustainable energy means it's so cheap. I literally never have to go to a gas station. I just plug my car in, but I'm digressing. Let's move to the next slide. So Elon's track record is insane. Let's just touch on this. He created a map website that he sold, and then PayPal, and then obviously SpaceX and Tesla. His mind for business is incredible. The way he thinks about things from a fundamental level, and thinks on a time scale of 100 years is just incredible. He's one of my idols, and I try to think more like him. I always am striving to think more like Elon. And because of that, I listen to a ton of his interviews and stuff. And if I can even get a pinch 1% of his long-term fundamental thinking, I know that a lot of my startups are going to be incredibly successful. But let's now talk about Tesla's hidden value unlocks. So most people will go as far as everything I've described so far. I think Wall Street has kind of started to get everything that I've said up to this point. But then it starts to get really exciting. Like that, none of that is the exciting stuff yet. It starts to get really exciting when you start to uncover all of the incredible plans that Elon has to unlock more and more value as time goes on. So we're going to take a look at a bunch of different hidden value unlocks that Tesla has ahead. So the first hidden value unlock is autonomy. Autonomy is the focus right now of Tesla's entire strategy. Recently, there's been news about Tesla lowering prices a lot. But that's partly because Tesla has a chance right now to just put everyone else out of business. Elon won't say this, but right now Ford is losing $1 million, $1 million on every F-150 that they sell. Crazy. That's partly just because they're investing a lot in new technology. They're very, very low volume right now, which means cost per unit is higher when volume is lower. And they're kind of creating a new business around EVs right now. So there's a lot of burn. They're also just far less efficient than Tesla at every single stage. GM is losing a ton as well. GM doesn't actually break it out though, so I don't know exactly how much GM is losing on every EV sale, but Ford is losing $1 million. At least the last quarter, that's how it was, $1 million per F-150 sold. So Tesla, by lowering prices, it just makes it more and more unlikely that anyone else is going to be able to succeed, because two things are happening at the same time. And Legacy will not tell you this, but literally, Legacy is trying to fund their EV sales, which are being sold at a loss, with their gas car sales, which is why they've been raising the prices of gas cars a lot. And even their EVs, they've been raising prices of as well, because they're kind of getting hit on both ends. Because what's happening is demand for gas cars, which is their lifeblood, plummeting at the same time that the sales of their EVs, which are losing the money, are starting to increase. So pretty soon, the cash flow is going to go away. There's not going to be any more cash flow to fund the losses on this other side. And we're going to see a slew of bankrupts from legacy auto. That's my prediction. Maybe. So we've seen like, well, I'll get to this. Let's just talk about this slide. I don't want to get too far ahead here. So autonomy is the focus of Tesla's entire strategy. Now, it's incredible how little the world understands. Individuals understand how far Tesla is ahead in autonomy. I think if you just don't have a Tesla and you don't experience it, you just don't realize what's actually happening. But my Tesla drives me autonomously every single day. A lot of trips maybe require one intervention, but it's getting so close to, and there are many trips that don't require any interventions, to literally driving me from my driveway to the parking lot of wherever I'm going without me having to do anything. Not a single input. You don't understand. Not a single input. And Teslas can drive anywhere in the world with road signs. Well, at least in the US right now is where most of the testing is happening, but they've started to drive autonomous cars in China and in Europe, in certain areas, and that is just going to continue to expand. Now, the question is, when will Tesla actually get to level 4 autonomy, which is where the driver doesn't have to pay attention anymore? I don't know exactly when that's going to happen, but I don't think it's even a requirement for Tesla to unlock a lot of value, because Tesla full self-driving, so you get some autonomous features just for free, but if you want full autonomy, like on city streets where it's listening to stop signs and turning right and left and going through intersections and all of that, it is a $15,000 add-on. That is a software add-on that every single Tesla, whether you buy autonomy or not, is capable of. And if you decide not to buy full self-driving, you can get a subscription plan later on. Like say a couple months into your car, you're like, man, I really want to check out this full self-driving thing. For like a couple $100 a month, you can subscribe to FSD and bam, instantaneously your car can fully autonomously drive itself anywhere. Really, really cool. And this is 100% margin, because remember, Teslas are capable of full autonomy, whether or not you buy it. So if someone adds full self-driving, that is 100% margin. That revenue that comes in dropping straight to the bottom line as profit. That means that Tesla could theoretically, when the take rate starts going up as more people realize how incredible Tesla autonomy is, even the Model 3, Tesla could sell it for like $20,000 or $25,000, which is probably around cost of manufacturing. And then the $15,000 software add-on could still make them have the highest profit margins in the industry. But remember, we're getting a new model that's even going to be less to produce than the Model 3 and the Model Y. So it's just going to be absolutely crazy. But you start to do the math on like 1 million cars, adding $15,000 straight to the bottom line every single year. Well, 1 million cars times $15,000, I think that's $15 billion, if I'm doing the math right, of straight profit. Hopefully, I don't know. That was instant math. I'm not sure if I got all the zeros right, but the ballpark is insane, especially when you start to get to, well, Tesla's not going to be selling 1 million cars. Tesla's going to be selling 10 million cars. I think they're already selling 2 million cars a year. So at 10 million cars, all paying $15,000 for autonomy, straight to the bottom line, I mean, it's insane. So that's one secret value unlock that's coming. The second secret value unlock is creating demand for the biggest energy revolution since oil. What happens when the entire transportation industry switches from needing and burning oil to just needing energy that can come from the sun? Well, there's going to be a massive switch in demand, and Tesla is already creating Tesla Energy. It's growing 100% per year. Tesla is essentially creating the demand for energy by getting transportation to switch over, and then they're like, oh, and we're offering the solution to this new demand. So he's already creating the business that's going to be able to answer the new demand's call while he's creating the demand for energy at the same time. Tesla becoming the biggest gas station. So we just got news that Ford, GM, Rivian, and now the first European auto manufacturer, Volvo, has also just all agreed to use Tesla's proprietary charging structure, which I think they open sourced the patents for. But they're also going to be using Tesla's superchargers, which are by far like a 10x, maybe 100x better experience than any other charging. And with the Tesla, you can actually travel anywhere in the US, Mexico, Canada, China. It's all supercharged out. Tesla is becoming the biggest gas station. And what's crazy is once they do the initial investment to create solar, they're getting energy for free that they are going to be selling to everyone. It's insane. I think like the profits on just the current gas station industry in the United States, it's like $10 billion. It's been a couple months since I did this research. So these are just like, they become vaguer numbers in my mind the longer it's been since I've actually done the research. But that is with only getting like a couple cents profit per gallon gas stations are getting now. Imagine the entire price is straight to the bottom line because the energy's free. They don't have to buy it from anywhere. The sun's just giving it to each charging station. It's going to be wild. Wall Street just doesn't understand this. So I think that Ford and GM might be bankrupt, so these deals might not matter. But it does unlock, I think, the potential. If GM and Ford and Volvo and Rivian are signing this deal to use Tesla's charging, I think eventually they're also going to sign deals, if they're still in business, to use Tesla's autonomous software. Because if everyone knows Teslas drive themselves and I can play video games, do work, eat food, have sex, whatever I want to do in my Tesla, when it's driving myself, like, why would I want to use any other vehicle that I can't do whatever I want in when I'm going from point A to point B? It's such a time saver. It unlocks so much more of people's lives that no one is going to want to buy a car that's not autonomous. So the only chance any of these legacy auto manufacturers are going to have is trying to get autonomy somehow. And Elon has said that he is open to licensing autonomy to these other manufacturers. So I think that there is a very probable future, if these companies aren't bankrupt, where Tesla is making more profit per Ford sold and per GM sold than Ford and GM are making on their own car sales. Because imagine this. Imagine that somehow Ford gets their cost of production down a ton and GM gets their cost of production down a ton, and they're just selling at like slight losses or maybe a slight profit. And they're getting like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% margins. I think right now they're getting like 7% margins on ICE vehicles. And then Tesla licenses a $15,000 software add-on on every single one of their cars. And Tesla is getting like a $15,000 profit on every Ford and GM sold. And Ford and GM are only getting like a $10,000 profit on every Ford and GM sold. It's going to be wild, where Tesla's going to be capturing more value from other manufacturers' car sales than other manufacturers are able to capture. Now, I know there's going to be people out there that are like, the experts say that Waymo's ahead and Tesla's in last place. The experts are idiots, for one. They don't know anything. I have lost all respect for experts during COVID. Mostly they're just paid shills, kind of like how I was for Gala. Really, really unfortunate, not critically thinking about anything, not actually using science or research. And a Waymo car, because it has LiDAR and all this expensive technology, costs $150,000 per vehicle. And then it's geo-locked into a small area that needs perfect HD mapping. And if anything changes, they need to remap it. And to expand, it's so expensive to actually test. To like, the data that Waymo has is almost nothing compared to Tesla, because in order to get data, they have to pay an engineer $100,000 a year to sit in a $150,000 vehicle to drive around and get some data. Tesla customers are paying Tesla to give Tesla autonomous driving data. I'm one of them, and I'm happy to do it. I paid Tesla $15,000 for my FSD so that I could give them data to help them make FSD better. And every time I disengage, they put a little notification up. And I can click the record button, and I can tell them how the FSD messed up and why I took over. And there's millions of customers that Tesla has. I think hundreds of thousands currently using FSD beta, and every single one of them is paying Tesla in order to help Tesla win in full self-driving. If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what will. All right, Tesla's end game: artificial general intelligence and the humanoid robot. It starts to get crazy here, and I think a lot of people just stop being able to really comprehend because the numbers get so big. But somebody asked, like, why do I think Tesla's going to get to a $50 trillion market cap? That's crazy. The most valuable company in the world right now is only like $3 trillion, Apple. Well, for one, if you actually look back in history, the Dutch India Trading Company, I believe, had over a $10 trillion market cap. It was a massive monopoly that pretty much controlled all the oceans. So companies have been bigger than Apple before, actually, in the past, inflation adjusted. So that's the first point. Just because this is the current largest, there's no theoretical physical limit. Physics doesn't say the companies can't get bigger than this. There's no limits here. We could get to 100 trillion. We could get to quintillions. There's no laws in the universe that say that just because the biggest company is 3 trillion, we can't get past that. So you have to think about things from a fundamental level. This is what I've been learning from Elon for a decade. You have to think about things from a fundamental level. And if you start to think about the fact that AI is getting as smart as humans, this is unrefutable. I think that GPT-4 is smarter than most humans now. Potentially even smarter than me. It's definitely smarter than me in a ton of areas. Like I use it as my lawyer now because it's smarter than my lawyer was. It literally passed the bar exam in the top 10 percentile. So this is like an unrefutable thing that AI is starting to get smarter than humans. Tesla is by far the leader in real world artificial intelligence, like actually navigating the world. Tesla is learning that. They're far ahead of anyone else. So you put the brain of a generally intelligent AI inside a humanoid robot that can navigate the world, because Tesla already knows how to do that with autonomous vehicles. The value unlock starts to get mind-blowing. Because I know that Tesla is the best manufacturing company in the world by far, orders of magnitude. They're going to drive the cost of producing a humanoid robot way below anyone else is going to be able to produce one for. The mind of Tesla's humanoid robots are going to be smarter than anyone else is able to do, able to navigate the world better than anyone else, just because they literally have billions of miles of data, and they're going to start getting more data of like actually walking and stuff. Now there's slight differences, but the brain can be the same. And that's the big important thing. So how much does it cost for a physical laborer in the world? Well, I mean, it depends where you are. In the US, I think it's like, I don't know, $40,000, $50,000 a year. If Tesla can sell a humanoid robot for $20,000 a year, or even $100,000, say it costs twice as much of a year's laborer. That means that if you buy a humanoid robot and it can do the same work as a human laborer, in 2 years, if it costs $100,000, it's paid for itself. The third year, you're now just generating profit because the robot's paid for itself, and now you have a free laborer. But Tesla's not going to be charging $100,000 for these robots. They're going to be $20,000, maybe less, which means in the first year, you're going to be having your cost of having an employee. Now, there's the kind of an existential threat here, like, if robots come, we're not going to have any work to do. That's completely false. There's always more work to do, and I think that adding more work just means more stuff gets done. It means humanity moves forward faster. There's no end limit on people's desire for things. There's no end limit on people's desire for experiences. There's no end limit for people's desire to improve something that already exists. So more labor is going to grow the economy, potentially I don't think there's a limit. Almost infinitely is the possibility. And people are still going to have things to be able to do. Just like if we doubled the population right now with 8 or 10 billion humanoid robots, trust me, I could find things for humanoid robots to do. There's always ways to just generate more value, do more things. So jobs aren't going to go away. Some jobs might change to managing, like, oh, I got my 10 workers. I just make sure that these bots are doing what they're supposed to do instead of being a solo worker myself. Things will change. Jobs will get disrupted in the short term, but more jobs always get created. And that's the truth of history. Just look through it. So in this sort of situation, I think 50 trillion is just a number that I threw out there because if I say the actual number I think Tesla's going to get to, people are going to think I'm crazy. People already think I'm crazy putting a 50 trillion number out there. But yeah, it actually gets insane. And I haven't even mentioned an autonomous taxi network, which ARK Invest thinks is going to be generating trillions of dollars of revenue per year by like 2030 or something. That's going to be insane as well. I literally have 3 Cybertrucks ordered. And then I have a Model Y. My brother has a Model Y. My mom and dad have a Model Y. Not because we want to waste money on vehicles, but because I am confident that each of our Teslas are going to be able to autonomously earn us $30K a year in profit, even after Tesla takes their cut as well, which they're going to take a cut from the autonomous taxi network. That makes sense. And within 2 or 3 years of the autonomous taxi network being launched, maybe it launches in 2024, maybe it's 2025, maybe it's 2026, doesn't really matter. As long as our cars can still drive around, which electric vehicles are just so freaking tanks. They're like 1950s refrigerators. They're still going to be working. Within 1 or 2 years, they're going to more than pay for the cost that they were. And then they're just going to be cash flow machines for us. And it's going to be absolutely epic. So yeah, these are kind of all of some of the value unlocks. So here's some more value unlocks that smart money doesn't see. Dojo, Tesla has been developing their own chips for training AI. And Elons talked about how Dojo could easily be sold for helping others train AI as like an AWS product. So if you guys don't know AWS, Amazon Web Services, Amazon obviously is a really big website and needed something to host their website. And as they were developing their product for hosting their own site, they realized, wait, we could sell this and help other people host their sites as well. And now AWS is one of Amazon's most profitable products. Dojo, Tesla's kind of doing the same thing Amazon had to do. We are getting billions of miles of training data in. We need to be able to train our full self-driving brain with this data, which means we need way more compute. There's not enough chips out there. We need to design our own. We think we can even get better chips for our use case than exist because we can make it for the specific AI training use case. And right now they're using all of their data, and they will be for a while. There's a chart that Tesla has about like the compute that they're going to have. And it's going to be the biggest computer in the world. But eventually, they're going to have excess compute, which they're going to be able to sell. And that's going to be potentially an incredible business that's not valued at all. Software as a service. What happens when all of your time in a Tesla is freed up and you can do whatever you want? Well, you're going to want to download apps in your Tesla. You're going to want to watch movies in your Tesla. You're going to want to play games in your Tesla. And all of a sudden you unlock the Roku business model. And if you guys don't know Roku, if you subscribe to Netflix through Roku gets a cut of that. Or the App Store model. If you buy an app on Apple's App Store, Apple gets a cut. Or if you do a microtransaction in any of those apps, Apple gets a cut. Tesla can run the same exact software as a service model inside of Teslas. And when you're not paying attention to the road, you can pay attention to literally anything else. So there's going to be a massive, I think, run for creating apps in Teslas eventually. Tesla's already been selling games. I think they already partnered with Steam to put Steam in the Model S and Model X because that has like a high-powered gaming computer in it. And this is just going to continue to grow. And pretty soon, Like when auto analysts tell you Tesla's overvalued, you just need to think this guy's an effing idiot who doesn't understand anything, because that's the truth. It's kind of like when people said Apple, like the iPhone was way too expensive and how is Apple going to make money on this? Because they were Nokia analysts and were like, Nokia is not making any money off of their phones after people own it. It's a whole new model. Yeah, people don't make money. Ford doesn't make a bunch of money off of Fords right now as a reoccurring subscription or anything like that. They have to make money by building their cars crappily so that you have to keep going in and getting it repaired. Tesla's not going to need to make money that way, because Tesla's going to make money off of all of your uses inside the car. All right, insurance, another value unlock, more data. They have way more data than anyone about your safety as a driver. I currently live in Texas and already have Tesla insurance. And literally my insurance premium changes based off of how safely I drive any month. And now, obviously, if I don't want to drive safe and I don't want my insurance to actually be based off of how good of a driver I am, I can switch to a third-party provider that doesn't know anything about me and drive as recklessly as I want. But if I want to be a safe driver, or if I just want to have autopilot enabled, which I almost always do, then Tesla offers the cheapest insurance because they know how little FSD crashes. So they have more data than anyone, which is going to allow them to better price and get more profit than anyone. And then they also have less crashes than anyone because FSD is already safer than a human driver if you look at the data. So then there's going to be even more stuff. I do not pretend to understand everything going on in Elon's mind and all of the ways that he's going to be making Tesla the most valuable company in the world. But I do know Tesla's going to become the most valuable company in the world. And that's without a doubt. So there you have it. Just kind of a mind dump. If you guys would like me to like go deeper into any of these things that I talked about, because I barely touched on energy. I barely touched on solar and all of that. Tesla's Power Walls and the ability, like they're becoming an energy, like an actual utility in Texas. And that's going to go nationwide and worldwide. All of the energy stuff that they've built in Australia is incredible. I could go way more in depth into all these things, and I could even like show interview clips and bring up actual specific charts. But if you want to see more, then let me know. But there's my mind dump on Tesla, just very superficially covering everything. It's a very exciting, complex company, and it is my biggest position for a reason. I currently have, I think, like a little over $600,000 in Tesla. I wish I had more. Honestly, it's like 40% of my entire investment portfolio, or maybe a little bit less than that. And it should really be more. So I have companies like Square and Roku, and Avant Brands, because I just think they're like kind of ridiculously ignored right now, and I think that they could 3x in 12 months or something. But if that happens, I'm gonna be moving a lot of that profit into Tesla, because just the long-term potential of Tesla is still highly, highly underestimated. So drop a big thumbs up if you enjoyed. Let me know if you want more stock videos on this channel, or you want me to just make a new channel for that. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you all in the next one.